I want to welcome everybody here. As you know, or may not know, the Union County, South Carolina Republican Women's Club is only 6 months old. So if we are kind of bobbling up a little bit, you know we've never done this before. And so we're learning. But I think we did pretty good for our first time ever. I want to welcome everybody, and of course some of my people are still working to try to serve you, but we're going to have our meal first, and then after the meal, we'll have our opening, our normal opening with the Republican Creed and the National Anthem, which we do at all of our meetings if we have somebody who can sing there. And they won't let me sing it, so. But first, I want to introduce you to Reverend Tony Foster. He is from Greenwood, and I'm just going to do a brief introduction because he will be officially introduced later. He's the pastor of the Restoration Worship Center and Restoration Bible College in Greenwood. And I have never met him before this meeting, but I have seen him on TV, and he is a wonderful speaker, an American, a Republican. What else do I need to say? A Christian.
Yes. So let's pray together. Father, in the matchless name of Jesus, we want to thank you today for your mercy and your goodness. Thank you for the United States of America. I want to pause to pray for all the Americans that are in Afghanistan. I pray for a safe return. Father, I pray tonight as we gather together to celebrate this great nation, I pray that your spirit would be here and that God, you would bless this event and the United States of America. Now, I pray with the food as well. Bless our meal. In Jesus' name, amen.
We do have Secret Service outside and probably in the building, so if somebody looking official asks you to move your car or something, it would probably be a good idea if you go ahead and do that. Sergeant McKay, where are you?
Right here, ma'am.
All right, it's your turn.
Thank you very much. And it's such a privilege to be in front of all of you. And I would like this time, we are going to post colors. Post yourselves. At this time, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, pause! Please be seated. Number one, what does the flag mean to you? to you and to you. We have fought underneath this flag for 245 years. There has been how many soldiers that have died underneath this flag? And yet, every time that we come through, somebody wants to destroy this flag. So what is it that is so important about a flag? Yet we have a lot of lives that happens to be killed for it. So there must be something about that flag that resonates to us as a family, as an individual. So I remember that my son or myself decides I want to go serve in the service. Because I need to get out from underneath mom and dad. Yep. And so they get up there, they get on the bus, they report to their duty station, and lo and behold, this individual walks on the bus. He's got this big brown hat. It looks like that, and he looks at everybody, and he says, I want to welcome you to whatever fort it is, let's say Fort Leavenworth, Missouri. At this time, you will get off this bus, and you'll be reported down there to a pair of yellow footprints. You will do nothing more or nothing less than what I tell you to do. Do not think outside the box. Now, how do I know this? It's yours truly. I was able to put it out. And here, they get off the bus, and all of a sudden, all this yelling starts coming out. And they yell at the ears, and they yell in the faces, and stuff like that. And that soldier with his locked heel says, maybe mom and dad wasn't quite so bad. So, when our flag first got started, George Washington tried to go out and find somebody who can make a flag so that his troops can fight him. Now again, I ask you, what does the flag mean? And here we go. He finds a woman named Betsy Ross. This might all come together now. And she decided and formed up a flag. And so I had this to present to you, a little bit on the history of the Betsy Ross flag. If you notice that it has 13 stars. 13 stars represents the 13 colonies. And lo and behold, she did 13 stripes, also representing the 13 colonies. So then there was identification of the colors. Red stands for the bloodshed, white stands for purity, and blue stands for valor. Post. So that flag was started out, and here I want to tell you a short little story because what it really means to us veterans and to our patriots. Fort McHenry. I don't know if you know the story, but here we have, they went to Congress and they decided to exchange prisoners. The ones that were captured on the boat and the ones that were at the fort. And they said, we will exchange them one-on-one. So here's the boy goes down into the base and tells all the soldiers that were captured, man, you can be free today. And they started getting all hunky-dory and all happy. Finally, we get free from our bondage. So he goes back up to the boat, and what happens? The colonel, the general, whatever you want to call him, says, oh, there's a stipulation. And he said, well, what's that? He said, the only way that I'll release these prisoners is that fort over there to lower their flag. Here we go again. What is it about the flag? So he goes back to the fort, and he talks to them, and they said, oh no, we are not going to lower that flag. So he goes back and tells them, says, no, they ain't working. I said, okay, fine. We are going to blow that fort apart. We are going to take down that flag. And it then won't mean anything because those soldiers sit down below. They'll be under our order. So then what happens? The cannons were released. Boom! 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 And all night long, explosions kept going up. And then by sunlight, the smoke cleared. And what did they see? Flag still standing. And the general there on the boat said, how can that be? I know I hit that flag directly. So he went down, the lawyer did go, went back into the fort to find out how that flag is still standing. So he went in there, and there was all these fires all around the bottom of the flag. When one person died, another soldier went over there to hold up that flag. they weren't going to let that flag fly. So again, I ask you, what does the flag mean to you? A lot of soldiers gave their life underneath this flag. I want you to post your flags up through your house, put posters on your car, and tell veterans that you love them, because they still are fighting for our freedom as well as you know in Afghanistan. Look how many soldiers we lost there just recently. And I am so hurt that we just trash them off like they're nobody. That's because we live in our little bubble. Until that affects us, your child, and your child die on the battlefield. So I ask you, what does the flag mean to you? Colors, post! Go ahead, stand. The American flag. Would you mind posting the American flag up? With that being said, remember how many people died underneath this flag, and at this time, everybody stand. We're going to do the national anthem. And remember, on the same hand you see what? When the dawn urgent light came and the fog came out, they still saw our flag. Please proceed.
Introduction later. That's why we got Secret Service men standing around and checking us out. Pam, would you please come on? And she's going to read the Republican Creed for us.
Thank you. I know I don't have a microphone, but I'm a mom of three, so I think I can yell really loud. If you'll all say it with me.
You may stand if you want.
Let's everybody stand. I do not choose to be a common man. It is my right to be uncommon. If I can seek opportunity, not security, I want to take the calculated risk to dream and to build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for gold. I prefer the challenges of life to guarantee security. The thrill of fulfillment to the hope of safe and utopia. I will not trade freedom for beneficence, nor my dignity for a handout. I will never bow for the answer, save my God. It is my heritage to stand erect, proud, and unafraid, to think and act for myself, enjoy the benefits of my patience, to face the whole world boldly and say, I am a free American.
Okay, you may be seated. But Doug Gillum, who happens to be our House of Representative member from Union County, is also a strict timekeeper. And he keeps giving me that look like you need to get on with the program, Carolyn. I'm trying to get on with the program. I know what he does when he's in Columbia. You know, we got to check that out. Pam, could you check on that? Okay. All right, good. All right, we are down to recognition of special guests. And there's a lot of special guests here. And everybody that was a special guest was supposed to fill out an index card, so I didn't have to remember everything. But unfortunately, I only have 2 index cards. So if I leave something out, you tell me, okay? So I'm just going to have to wing it. Of course, we've got our speakers, and they will be properly introduced later. And we're so happy to have them. So I'm not going to take up time off the dough, you know, duplicating things. We have Kevin Brewington with us. Raise your hands, Kevin. Kevin is our local hero and a war veteran, and he gave his legs to save us our freedom and fight for us, and we just appreciate it so much. And he's always got a smile on his face, and it shows you can overcome any obstacle that comes your way and be thankful for what you have. So we have Kevin Brewington. We have Miss Barbara, I already addressed that with him, because if you notice, my sidekick over here has on his Carolina shirt. Okay, Pam, I'm going to ask you to help me do another thing right quick while we recognize some special guests. I had to think of some kind of gimmick to make money to put on this thing tonight. And I thought, since it's patriotic, we sent out some letters. We didn't want to say we need some money. So I said, if you want to be a signer of the Declaration of Independence, and if you give us $500, we'll let you sign the Declaration of Independence, and we will give you a reserved seat right beside the speakers, and we'll give you tickets for the people at your table, and we just laid it on good. And I mean, by the time Barbara Rigby got her mail out of the mailbox, she picked up the phone and called me and said, Carolyn, I want to sign the Declaration of Independence. I just wish we had 10 more. And so look what I have for Miss Barbara. I have the Declaration of Independence. We're not going to read it right now. But we have an addendum to it that Barbara's going to sign. And it says, we need to. Okay, Mark, do you have a pen in your pocket? Somebody, Doug, you got a pen in your pocket? Okay, here I've got 4 or 5 pens. I got one now, thank you. But I want to read you the Declaration of Independence that Barbara's going to sign, and she can take all this stuff and have it framed like she wants it. And we had to have an addendum to the Declaration of Independence, and it's very legitimate, and it's a document that not many people get to have. And it says, Barbara Carter Rigby, this certifies that you are a qualified donor to the Union County, South Carolina Republican Women. Therefore, you are a designated this document, and I have signed it as president of the club, and Pam's gonna sign it as lieutenant governor, and this is a valid document. That's worth a lot. Okay, take that over now, let Barbara sign it.
I want you to know that I am Barbara with you. And one thing about you though, I'll tell you, I just noticed, but I just got to say this. You see that little short man sitting right there? Come over here. I'll do it.
Okay, Barbara, remember,
I'm not gonna say for that.
come here, Freddie.
You won't believe this. One time, you're the lieutenant governor. We had the governor, Nikki Haley, here in our little town. And she starts to get, after the ribbon cut, that we opened up a new business in Union on Main Street. Me and Freddie was standing right there with her when she cut the ribbon, and she was going back to her cars, you know, with all the security and all this stuff. And so anyways, she had on this beautiful pin. And I said, oh, Governor Haley, that's a beautiful pin. She took it off and put it on it. You know what Freddie told her? Said, Governor Haley, if you don't get in that car, she'll be a took your shoes.
Page of paper about a week ago. You better be nice to Miss Barbara, because she just gave the Medical University of South Carolina $1 million to do something in the pharmacy department. So she is a leader. This case that we're going to put it back in so you can keep it. And she said, I said, Barbara, you're going to get a special treat because you were the first donor to answer our letter. And so this lovely mom is your special treat, and you get somebody to help you get it to the car when you get ready to go.
You know what, Carol, you just the sweetest boy.
And while I'm talking about the mom, when Ronnie Lyman sings, God bless the USA, everybody get the flags out of your centerpiece so we can all wave the flags, okay? Thank you, Barbara. Okay, I'm moving on to my special people. We got Freddie Galt, he's already got seen enough, so. Freddie does have a title. He is Outreach Director for Congressman Timmons and a State Executive Committee man for the Republican Party. So we all love Freddie. He's a big supporter of us. Give Freddie a hand. We have a dear, dear friend of mine. You notice on your tables there's a brochure about the golf tournament in Spartanburg, the Palmetto Republican Women's Club, which I am still a member of, have been a member of for about 10 years. Kathy Beeler, stand up, Kathy. Kathy is president of that club. And if you're interested in anything about, if you live in Spartanburg County, you want to know about Republican Club in Spartanburg, see Kathy and read this golf tournament. I've been working with that golf tournament for many years, and it's a great, great time. Let's see, who else special do we have? Any other special person? We do have some people, and I'm not gonna ask them to stand. We are planning to have a Christmas home tour of historic houses in Union County. And some of those homeowners are here. I don't know if they want to stand or not. Do you want to stand, Mary Kate? I don't see her standing, so there she is, Mary Kate Scully. And Joe Copley. Both of these people have bought some of those historic homes on the East Main Street, and they're redoing them and upgrading them, and they're going to be absolute showcases. So I think there's a brochure on your table for you to read about that and come back to Union on December 5th. Doug's shaking his head. So now I'm going to introduce South Carolina House of Representatives. Oh, Miss Mary Ann Riley. She's standing up. Back in the corner. She's been president of the Spartanburg Republican Women's Club for 35 years. And she is a very dear friend. She has all kinds of stuff back there. Trump hats, Trump shirts, Trump teddy bears for sale for the Spartanburg GOP. So y'all go back to visit Mary Ann, okay? Now we're going to Doug Gillum. He's our House of Representatives, and he's also District 42. And he is a member of our club. We do have men in our club. We don't let you go. We don't let you hold the office. But we let you out with all the work that we do. And Doug's a charter member of our club. And so he keeps us straight, and he gives us a good report every month about what's going on in Columbia. So we keep our eye on Columbia too. Okay, and Doug's going to come now, and I'm going to let Doug handle the program for a while, and he will introduce properly our speakers. He will keep the time on them and tell them when they've set it up, and then I'll be back to you in just a little bit. Doug?
Hey y'all, let me welcome everybody here. I want to tell you, as you'll see as we go through the program, y'all are doing great. The singing, the food, the service, and all these people, everybody that helps
I
out.
apologize if people could not hear them because of the microphone.
Y'all, our battery had a little issue when we first started. That's why we were talking without.
Try to get it back on.
Absolutely. She does very good, as y'all already know. So let me tell you, I have the privilege of introducing my family readers in the full board of the car, so I brought them with us on this. So we have some people here that are going to speak, and I've got to hear. The first one is going to come up and talk to us tonight. You know, in the military, you need motivation. Pastor Tony Foster motivates me, and I know he's going to motivate you, so I'm going to tell you about his background and how I come in on Tony Foster. He's been preaching and teaching the gospel for over 28 years, national and internationally. Pastor Tony is the founder of Senior Pastor of Restoration Worship Center, president of Restoration Bible College, and he presides over many ministries of Restoration Worship Center. Pastor Tony Foster received an associate's in theology, a bachelor's in theology, and a master's in theology from the Christian Life School of Theology. Pastor Tony also received an honorary doctorate of divinity degree from Christian Bible Institute Seminary. In addition, he has worked as a health educator counselor with the University of South Carolina, the Social Works Department. He worked extensively with churches developing people to maximize their potential. Lastly, Pastor Tony is a broad member of Charter Institute's Erskine, Palmetto Family, Vice Chair of Crossroads Women's Center in Greenville, South Carolina. Pastor Tony is married to the beautiful Ms. Johnny Foster that he has with him tonight and have 2 adult sons. Now I'm going to tell you what I know about and how I come to know him quickly. You know, we had a bill going through the House that was pro-life called the Heartbeat Bill. And this is the first time I ever seen Pastor Tony. My sweet mate, John McCready from Greenwood, said, man, I got a pastor coming to testify in the committee in the Senate about the pro-life bill. And I said, he'd come up there and testify a pro-life bill that we had in there. He is a champion for the unborn. I've seen him multiple times, and he motivates me when he speaks. But that took me aback when I seen people fighting testimony in the Senate, and seen Pastor Tony stand up as a godly man fighting for a pro-life bill for our unborn. And I thank you more than ever knew. Since then, I've got to see him in Greenwood at McCrady's events and hear him speak in Lawrenceville, the Republican Party. And I know you're going to be motivated when you live here. He touches me. I appreciate him more than he knows. Ms. Johnny, I'm glad you are by his side and with him. He is a godly man, and I love what he does for our God, and I love what he does for our state. Would y'all please help me welcome Pastor Tony?
Well, put those hands back together for Jesus Christ. Can you clap for him? You can do better than that. It is my honor to be here. My name is Pastor Tony Foster. I have the privilege to be the husband of one of the most beautiful women in the world. We celebrate 25 years of marriage this year. Can you clap up for that? Amen. Every time she walks in the room, my heart still skips a beat. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They're endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. That is, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I want to declare before I share with you tonight that no matter what's happening in this country was founded on Judeo-Christian values. Only two nations in the history of the world that were dedicated to Jesus Christ. It was Israel and it was the United States of America. Can you clap your hands on that? I still can't believe it. I will begin tonight to talk about a very important story in the Word of God. It comes from 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 29. There was a little boy, 17 years old. His name is David. The name David means beloved of God. Out of 8 sons, the prophet was coming to town to anoint a new king. Jesse, who was their daddy, only invited 7. David was left in the field. Have you ever felt like you've been left out? After he began to pour the anointing oil on the sons, the oil would not pour. Because what is for you, nobody can take it. The oil didn't pour on their heads, but they called for David, and they poured the oil on his head, and he was anointed the next king of Israel. He went back into the fields to take care of his daddy's sheep, and one day there was a battle going on with the Philistines. They had a champion named Goliath. He was 9 feet tall, had a strong building voice. He was intimidating. He was like a terrorist. And all of Israel trembled in their boots. Then here comes red-haired, freckled, red-faced David. David shows up at the battle with cheese and bread to give to his brothers from his father. And he heard Goliath cursing God. And he says, who is this uncircumcised Philistine that defies our living God? No matter what giants are facing the United States of America today, we are well able through Jesus Christ to overcome anything. And if you believe that, give God a praise right now. I still can't hear you. The Bible says his brother got mad, and this is what he said to him. Every time you come, you're just making trouble. And watch what David says, because I believe it is the epitaph of our day. He says, is there not a cause? Is there not a cause for me to be angry that this giant is coming against our nation? Is it not a cause that since 1973, 70 million babies have been ripped out of their mother's womb? And we call it choice. I'm here to declare to the Democratic Party And the progressive left, this is not a choice, this is murder. Can somebody give God praise for that? I don't believe about it. Is there not a cause that we stand up for the preborn in our nation? Is there not a cause that we pray with women and let them know, no matter what choice you made, God is able to heal you? Is there not a cause in our nation where the progressive left is telling us and trying to teach our children critical race theory? What is critical race theory? It says that the world is divided into two groups, the oppressor group and the oppressed group. They say that all white people are inherently racist and all people of color are the oppressed. But I'm here to declare to the progressive left and the Democrats that I'm not depressed. I live in a nation where I am free and I will die free. I'm doing all right. Do you understand that your school boards, it's time for you to speak up? This is the devil coming in the back door trying to divide our nation again. We fought a revolutionary war. Then we fought a civil war that slavery would end. We have come a long way since 1865 from the Emancipation Proclamation. We went through the Black Codes, we went through Jim Crow, and I refuse to let the progressive left tell me I'm not free and that we are divided. Somebody clap your hands right now. I can't hear nobody on this side. Our women are struggling in our nation right now. And the feminist movement is silent. They always got something to say. But they don't have nothing to say about Save Women's Sports. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor, for standing up with me and we defended Save Women's Sports. You did good. We stood up and we said this. We believe that boys were created to be boys and girls were created to be girls. If you believe that in here, you ought to clap your hands. I don't believe it's just a fool. I believe you there are people on the way on. We got to fight for our women. Women have fought for many years in the area of sports and they can have independence. No woman can compete with a man in sports. The man's wingspan is wider than hers. The heart beats more. We need the South Carolina House and South Carolina, I'm calling y'all out. South Carolina House, South Carolina Senate. We got to stand for women's sports in our nation. Somebody clap your hands. Am I doing okay? Because Goliath is making a bunch of noise from the progressive left. We will not defund the police. I'll be back. Let me come over here. We will not defund the men and women in blue. Those when you call them and show up at your house to make sure you're okay. We refuse to bow to the progressive left and the Democratic Party that even says, even Colin Kaepernick says, we don't even need presidents anymore. We refuse not to support our military and our police. And if you believe that, you better stand on your feet and give God praise for that. We refuse to defund the police. Wow. I see them almost finished. We are Christians, and in our nation, there are many faiths in our nation. But I want to make it clear tonight that this nation was founded on Judeo-Christian values. I do not believe in the Project 16 2019. I believe that we have fought for liberty in this nation. Many men and many women have died for that. I want to tell you today that the progressive left is trying to shut down Christianity. It happened in Frankfurt. It happened in Germany during World War II. And the Christians were silent when the Jews were being rounded up, taken into the concentration camps. They kept having church and kept singing. They did not confront the Führer who was Adolf Hitler. What you don't confront will confront you. They didn't say anything when Hitler came for the Christians. I am telling you, down here in South Carolina, the great state of South Carolina, We believe that God is God, and we will stand up for Christianity and Jesus Christ in this state and in this nation. Somebody give God praise. Where's the Christian? You should have praised God over there as a Christian. If you are Christian, give God praise right now. I'm a praiser, so somebody praise Him. Afghanistan. What kind of leadership is in the White House? I am praying for Joseph. I believe he's sick. I'm praying for him for real. I believe he is a puppet, but I do not think he is ignorant. How do you lead weapons and tanks and helicopters in a country when you are leading it? I refuse to be a fool. I believe this was done on purpose, and if we keep our mouth closed, we're going to see tragedy that comes on our soul. Al-Qaeda has risen again. And we got to not only pray, but we got to be vocal and say, bring the Americans home. If you believe that, give God praise. I don't read down here in South Carolina. We're praying for the Afghan people as well. It's my last point, and I will be finished for tonight. We are living in turbulent times. But I will leave you with hope tonight. That 17-year-old freckle-faced red-headed boy takes a stone and he puts it in a slingshot, and by the power of God, he hits the giant in the middle of the head. Watch the miracle. The stone sunk into his head and his flesh closed up where it was, and Goliath fell. I believe that in this hour, God is raising up Davids and Davidas. If you're a woman, say, I'm Davina tonight. I'm going to try again. If you're a woman, tell your neighbor, I'm Davina tonight. God is raising up Davids in this generation who will not be afraid to speak forth what God says. And I want to tell you this. My name is Tony Foster, and I approve of this message.
Okay, I'm going to be the sergeant major now. Microphone's going out. I'm glad you got to hear Tony Foster. I hope he motivates you like he does me when he talks like that. I've seen him fight. He's a champion for the unborn. He's a godly man. And you know what? I look at people based on their character, not anything else. When I look at Tony Foster, I see a godly man that does the right thing. And I appreciate that. So, I have two more speakers, two great speakers. I have my friend coming from the House of Representatives. Y'all know him as our 16th solicitor, our circuit solicitor. In Union, that's where everybody came to know his name. And when he tried the trial with Susan Smith. But let me tell you what, coming to know him more now in the House. I knew him there working with the Sheriff's Department for years, and when he was here, and I appreciate it. I thought he was a great solicitor. I think he's a great leader. He is our House of Representatives Speaker Pro Tem. He has many things that he's accomplished in his career, and I don't have the list to go down all of them. But let me tell you, he does great. He's a great leader. We share the same values as you do. And he stands up for that, and I appreciate it more than that. And like Pastor Tony said, he fights for law enforcement. He fights for the law. He fights for you. He fights for the unborn. He fights for what is right. He fights for good judges that we get to approve to go in our courts. I'm thankful for him. He let me be when I come up there. We elected him as pro tem again, and he chooses an escort to escort him up, and he let me be part of that. And I'm thankful for that. That's a lot to me as a freshman in the House of Representatives. But I appreciate you more than you know, Tommy Pope. If y'all will, let's give a big hand.
The most terrifying thing, Reverend, is a politician with a microphone and a Bible. Nowadays, this is my Bible. I got my Bible after here. When I first took Celebration Church, I thought everybody was looking at their phone during the sermon. I didn't know we could learn the Bible. So you folks learn that. I will say you motivated me. I want to tell you guys, I was thinking, we were talking about David, and everybody looked at David and said, David, what makes you think you can do this?
Right.
You're saying David's America. We could come back. And David told him, said, well, God was with me when I killed the lion, and God was with me when I killed the bear. So why is this uncircumcised Philistine going to be any different? I think we need to know and remember and impart to our children that God was with us the last time they had problems, whether it was the 60s or the 70s or 80s, there have been problems. God was with us, and God's going to be us again. So I appreciate you that. Now, the truth is, if you look at your agenda tonight, I was really the warm-up act. They have a band that's not as skilled, who comes out and plays some instruments and kind of gets them tuned up. That's what I was. And Dougie said he was going to keep some time, but he also said, I said, well, I got to take my cue in talking to people from my good friend Barbara Britton. Dougie said, you don't remember what your brother Jimmy said? He said, the popes are like candy. A little bit's good, but a lot will make you sick. What I'm going to try to do now is reminisce a little bit with you about my time down here and try to find that sweet spot where Dougie gets the hook and pulls it off the stage. So I came down here, I was 49 years old in 1991. And my father had been Democrat sheriff over York County. I've been a prosecutor over in Lexington, and so I was a Republican. The truth is, my dad and I were probably equally conservative. Big Albert, as he was called, within law enforcement 40-something years, he was probably more conservative than me. But anyway, so I wrote Republican. So I come to Union because I figure a good bunch of conservatives and not. So I met with the Republicans in Union. Ladies, y'all have done a tremendous job because we would have had some spare seats when I met with the Republicans in Union in 1991. So I come down, and so I had a small group of people that helped me. Freddie and I have been friends from when I worked at SLED in law enforcement. We kind of hit the campaign trail. But there's two things that kind of stuck with me. Three is I think about this building. I'll hit you first. So Ms. Barbara, I'm going down and I come by your place and meet you back then. I will point out that Barbara mentioned back then my hair was brown. And she said, really, now your hair looks like that. She told me, really the answer's in a bottle. And I said, Barbara, I'm upset about it, but I'm not going to start drinking out of it now. So anyway, I'm going down Main Street and I'm terrified, but you got to sell yourself. That's what politics is. You got to sell your belief. And so I start talking about the backlog, and I go in a store that was up from Barbara's store. I can't remember. I just remember I went in, and the man behind the counter had bent overalls on. And I'm nervous, so I'm getting short of breath, and I'm giving him my best material. But I'm Tommy Pope. I was in law enforcement. We got the worst backlog in the state. They're not handling the criminal cases down here. We got a real problem, and I want to be your next solicitor. And he said, solicitor? And I said, yes, sir. And he did this. And I don't know to this day if he turned that hearing aid up or down. But he pointed to the door that said no solicitors, and well, Tommy, I'm not sure. So I go across the street at the radio station, and I go in, and I'm kind of just trying to find somebody to talk to, and Carlisle come bopping in. You remember Carlisle had his show? And he said, who's got that Pope bumper sticker? Probably the only one in town was on my car. Had that Pope bumper sticker on his car outside. And I said, well, sir, that's me. He said, come on in. I know your dad. And so I think, well, cool. My dad's been in law enforcement. It's neat, that somebody knows my dad. And we get in there, and I tell him about the court and how I'm going to change things. And we got the backlog, and I'm going to fix it. And I'm going to get a drug court. I'm going to do all this stuff. He says, great. We get to the, I must talk to him for 45 minutes. He goes, so, tell me, how are things over in Newberry? I'm from York County. important to me because we had York and Union County. York County's a big county. Could just win York County. I won York County and won Union County. So I had an opportunity, as Dougie mentioned, I signed on to do the backlog, and we conquered that. We went from the worst in the state to the most efficient in the state. I didn't sign up for that other little thing no one in this community did, but it happened. And so I was thinking, well, one of you was talking about the Reverend again, and you'd seen him on TV. Well, you know, I was on TV too. I was on Oprah here when Oprah came to Union. Did you ever get to watch that episode? Oprah asked me a bunch of questions, and they went to commercial. And they came back and they said, Oprah loves you. She wants to talk to you some more. I kind of given Oprah my best material. I didn't have a lot left. So my son had come with me, and he was about 3 years old. And I said, I'm going to go check the car and make sure the loading's all right. So I went out, and I get to the door, and one of the guys, like backstage crew guys, he said, he said, are you finished? And I said, yes, I am. I don't know what went on in the Oprah show after Tommy got through, because I went out, I didn't come back after commercial. I got on the car and went back home. But, so I had my little 15 minutes of fame, and I remember the two things that I was sharing with you guys a little earlier. I thought I was pretty important, but my wife called me Mr. Important one time when we were having some legal discussion. That didn't turn out too well. But then the second thing I remember, I was at a ball game over at Whitman, and I heard two ladies behind me talking, and they said, I think that's him. And another lady said, I think you're right. And she said, I'm going to ask him. I loaded up. Excuse me, sir. She said, are you on television? And I said, yes, ma'am, I have been. I knew it. You're the weatherman from Charlotte. I'm very glad, God doesn't put more on us than we can handle. This community, I sing your praises, wherever I go around the country. When you talk about race relations and things of that nature, the way this community handled that was not at all the way we need to pay it. And I respect you guys for that. So I have a warm place in my heart. Now, I will say here, I had my fundraiser when I came down. Fred, you remember? $5 a plate. We had so much barbecue. They must have got the time wrong and said, we're out in the parking lot when we started. Finally, Freddie said, ain't nobody going to buy your barbecue. You got to give it away. So I called the police department. Them fellas come right over. They didn't eat the slaw. I'm not sure who's in charge of it stopping the sink. The Pope campaign probably still knows the bill on that. Fast forward, so I retired, went down to Columbia. As Doug said, I'm blessed. I was elected by my peers to be Speaker Pro Tem. Just so you know, local boy made good. Speaker Pro Tem, very important. Not since I worked at SLED and had that glamorous job when I was 18 years old, and they called me the phone boy, that I had as important a job as Speaker Pro Tem, because I am the number 2 man in the House. There is a very steep drop between the number 1 man and the number 2 man. I get to be in charge when, like, the speaker's in the bathroom or something. So I get him water quite frequently, and I get to preside there at the State House. But I will tell you, in all seriousness, we're very fortunate to have Dougie, and this is the love fest. When Coach was down there, he was almost like my daddy. He had good, strong, conservative union values, but he was just in the wrong part. But you guys helped Dougie to rectify that, and it's been a pleasure to serve with him as we're down there. I will tell you the one thing I see as part of Speaker, I preside over the session. The Goliath of Washington, and particularly the tone and the way things are, is creeping into Columbia. As we sit on both sides of the aisle, for the most part, we're able to work things out. Whether you're Republican or whether you're Democrat, we're starting to see less of that. We're starting to see less decorum, and people want to be rude and disrespectful without having a point to it. And I think it's important that we adhere to our values and what's important to us, but try to do it and without having to shout or having to demean. If the Republican Party loses power, it won't be from the Democrats. It'll be from ourselves. So many people, at least my generation, harken back to being a Republican, Ronald Reagan Republican. And, Zach, I told him I'm a master of this, but Ronald Reagan said what? If you're 80% agreeing with me, then you're not 20% a traitor. You're not 20%, so if you're 80% with me, that's good. Well, unfortunately, in our party now, we got some purists that they don't 99 things correct. The one we need to get rid of, Dougie, because he didn't do blank. We're going to run our own party in the ground. What's going to happen? All those litmus test people are going to end up running off some of you better candidates. And so, you're not going to agree with everything. How many of you agree with everything your spouse says? Except, of course, the Reverend is gone. She agrees with whatever she said. I do. My wife and I are separated. Kim's in New York, I'm down here. That's the reason I tell you that I agree with her all the time. I don't agree with her. But we have got to learn to find our core values, as you just heard, and support those and not get lost in the noise. What do you call it? The chants and the taunts of Goliath. Whatever it is, do not lose focus for what makes this community what it is, what makes our values what they are. And we've got to pass them on to the younger people and our children to make sure that carries on forward. I'm the warm-up band, so I won't be signing any autograph. It was an honor to be here with you tonight. I appreciate you welcoming me back here.
I was hoping I'd get it turned on, but it ain't coming on. So, I'm going to tell you, it's a pleasure for me to get to introduce our next speaker, our Lieutenant Governor. And I'm telling y'all, I think she's outstanding. I think she shares our values. Not only does she share, she talks about and she pushes for them, which is big in our state. We all share conservative values, which I believe in with all my heart. But when she come in, she was welcome, like she said. You know, she is a businesswoman, minded, travel dress, is that right? She's a travel dress, and small town too. It's growing a little bit. Man, she makes me proud, along with our governor, when they travel. I hear her on the radio with Joey Hudson every week just about, and she does very good, and I hope you listen to it too. She shares her values. She is one of us, and I'm so glad she's here to join us tonight. So if y'all will, let's give our Lieutenant Governor
I'm the first female Republican lieutenant governor on the state of I'm new 3 years to start as my service. I tell people I didn't even run for class president in high school, but I had grandparents that were Polish immigrants. And my grandmother lived with us growing up, and she would tell us every single day, my brothers and I, 3 older brothers. I think that's why I'm talking to me in politics. I was raised in a house with 3 older brothers. But she used to say to us all the time, how proud we should be to be American. How amazing it was to be able to live in a country where you could be whatever you wanted to be, as long as you were willing to work hard enough to be that. That was the American dream. How you could worship any way you wanted. And that if we were ever called to serve, that we should always serve. So I spent 20 years, my husband and I, building a big business. We turned into a national company. Very proud of what we did. But I got to a point really in my life where I wanted to do something more. More than just for me, more than just for my family. And so I told my husband, David, I said, you know, one day I think I'm going to run for office. And as most husbands do, right? He said, oh, that's, I'm sure you'll find time to do that between 2 and 4 in the morning. And so Donald Trump sets on the stage and he's going to run for candidate. And I was a huge Donald Trump supporter from the beginning. I always thought it would be important to have a businessman in office. Try to run this country off of business, right? Get some good trade deals going. That's how I got to know the governor. So one day the governor calls me and he says, Pamela, come on down to Columbia. I'd like to talk to you. So I said to my husband, I said, David. Besides, don't tell David your story about where his name comes from, because I'll never hear the end of it. But said, whatever he asks you to do, just say no. Just say no. So I said, okay. So I go down there, and I'm thinking, he's going to ask me to be on a board or a commission. So imagine my surprise when I sat down and he said, Pamela, how would you like to be my lieutenant governor? So I thought, wow, this is my chance to start. So I get in the car, I'm headed back home, and I call David. I said, David, are you sitting down? You're not going to believe this. I said, the governor asked me why is the lieutenant governor. And the phone was dead silent. And all he said was, what did you say? And I said, well, I didn't say anything. I said, we come back down the week, but I need to talk to my husband and family. He said, good answer. But doing what I do, it is a family affair. We do bring our families into this. It probably hurts them more than it hurts us when people say mean things and they hear mean things. But I can tell you, this is, next to being a mom, this is one of the biggest honors in my life, being able to serve you, the people of South Carolina. Taking everything I learned in business, taking it down to work with these wonderful people in the State House. And how many of you know what the Lieutenant Governor does? It's very sad to me. But my job has completely changed. So all the Lieutenant Governors prior to me used to provide with the Senate, and they were in charge of Office of the Aging. Well, what I get to do as Lieutenant Governor is work with the Governor, just like the President and Vice President do. So this year was an amazing year. You know, I started out, we got into office, the state was growing and growing. We had a surplus of money that we were getting excited to do a lot of things with, and then COVID happened. And it kind of stopped. And we all looked around to say, what do we do? How do we balance all the things that we need to do to be a great functioning state? Fiscal responsibility, mental health, how do we look at our businesses? What do we do to put that all together? And I'm proud to tell you that I think we did it here in South Carolina better than anybody. Companies like BMW and Michelin, who has said that 2020 was their most profitable year. And they said that comes truly from good leadership. We did not shut them down. They were able to operate. We trusted businesses to keep their employees safe. We kept things open. We touched on the brakes for a little bit, but we were the last state east of the Mississippi to close down and the first one to open up. And that's why businesses here in South Carolina are doing so well. We did great things this year. Pastor talked about it. We passed the heartbeat bill. That's it. I'm so proud to testify in front of the House and in front of the Senate why that was so important. Why that if we could separate a mother from her child, that there was no other bond that we couldn't separate. And that happened this year. What a great, great thing we did. We made sure we focused on business. We took money that came in from the federal government, and gracious, there was a lot of it. The governor made sure that he made complete transparency with that money. But what did we do? We brought business to the table. We brought our friends in the legislature to the table. We brought higher education. And for goodness sakes, we put it on SCE TV so the whole state could watch what we talked about, what we deliberated. Because the biggest focus of that was to be transparent. We had a lot of money coming in the state. We wanted you all to know how we were spending it on your behalf. So if you were a business owner and you were hit hard by unemployment, we took a lot of that money and we replenished our unemployment coffers to make sure we didn't have to come back to business. We didn't have to make you worry more about how you're going to get things done. We looked at keeping our businesses safe, so we passed safe harbor law. You know, I love being able to go up to the House, and I probably go up to the House more than I go up to the Senate. I don't know the senators in this area that. But this year, out of all 3 years I've been Lieutenant Governor, I saw just the intention, not in a bad way, but this fight to make sure that here in South Carolina, we were drawing the line to not let the federal government and let their liberal policies come into our state and tell us how to live and how to run our government. They were passing laws with such urgency to make sure we were passing open carry, because everybody was worried the overreach of the federal government would come in and try to infringe on our Second Amendment rights. We passed laws to make sure that no matter who was governor, we were very lucky to have a governor that sat during this time, that was conservative, that understood what people's rights were and never treaded on them. You know, we never closed a church here in South Carolina. There were states where people were being arrested for worship. That's not something we did here, but laws were passed to make sure that a governor would never have the power to close places of worship. And it's like Tommy said, we have to work together. 22 is an amazing year, and if you're in this room, you're fighting for our good conservative values, so I'm really preaching to the choir. But we need all of you. But we need you to reach out to 10 friends. I always use 10. 10 is a great whole number. Reach out to 10 friends and tell them why they have to go out and vote, why they have to get involved, and what's at risk. You know, when you see people at the grocery store, when you're talking to family at the table, we have such an impressive resume. Look where we are now. I mean, how many of you can believe that Joe Biden has only been president going on 9 months? For the destruction that has happened in our country since President Trump left office, it seems like a lifetime to me when I see what's happening. You know, we had stock markets hitting record numbers. We had amazing trade deals. We had the lowest unemployment. We were onshoring jobs. The list goes on and on of what President Trump did for us. But you were right, Pastor. What the left and the Democrats would have us believe was that none of that existed, that we weren't living in the last time. And now look what we have. It is going to be more important than ever in 22 to make sure we take back the House and we take back the Senate to be able to stop what's happening. But more important, to keep bringing back conservative elected leaders here in our state. Because if COVID has shown us anything, is that we get very focused on what happens on a federal level. But what happens in our state and our local government affect our day-to-day lives way more than that. So thank you all for the support that you give us. Continue. It's going to be an incredible year. We're going to see a lot of activity. And as my dad would say, I quote my dad an awful lot, is that teach your kids politics and religion. Because if you don't, somebody else will, and you may not like the outcome. Thank you so much for having me here. It is my honor to serve as your Lieutenant Governor, and I hope to do that along with our Governor for another 4 years. Thank you so much.
We got some great stuff at the end here. Let me tell you, I appreciate every one of you for being here. And I got to speak out. Y'all know our county Republican president, our chairman is Tom Mackey. His wife Stacy does so much for this club. The president, Ms. Carolyn Lawson, I'm telling you, she is tireless. She has worked and sent out more emails than she will tell them ladies, and she keeps everything going. But let me tell you what's behind the scenes. She has the support of the ladies. When she first started this, didn't know much about it. She said, we're going to start, so she had been going to Spartanburg, and I got to visit y'all up there years ago before COVID hit. I've been with Miss Carolyn and seen y'all's operation. The first meeting these ladies had, they had 21 people show up. And I'm like, Tommy could have fit all of them around the table one time. And that amazed me. Now, in the end, and I ain't gonna name the names, but y'all all know who you are that have helped make this successful. I appreciate you, Miss Carolyn, more than you know. And I hope we'll have another good year coming up. Thank you. Back to Miss Carolyn.
Up until we about 15 minutes, and if you bid on something, or if you want to bid on it, hang around, we'll announce the winner, and you can take it with you. I asked Tom to come over. Doug made a brief introduction. Tom was a little busy earlier. He was supposed to be up here all evening because one of his jobs is a chairman of the Union County Republican Party. He has another job that he has to take care of sometimes as forensic investigator for Spartanburg County. So sometimes he gets a little tied up and he can't say, hey, Sheriff Wright, I got a meeting to go to. So this is Tom, he's a member of our club, charter member, and he, we'll give him 10 seconds. But I will be there helping sponsor or whatever. Okay, Kathy, I'm sitting in the back there. Don't forget Mary Ann Riley. We moved her stuff out where the food was on that end. She's got everything Trump that you can make back there, from tote bags to hats to bracelets to everything else. I see that looking at that. I'm trying to avoid it. I can't think of any other announcements. I think we have covered everything. Does anybody have an announcement that needs to be made if you have a club meeting or something of interest? Okay, if not, we'll move on. If you are a veteran, please stand up. They have some little things for veterans. She wants to know who is the youngest veteran here. Kevin, how old are you?
31.
Anybody younger than 31 and a veteran? I believe Kevin won it. Anybody older than 31 that's a veteran? Anybody older than 62, that's twice their one. Anybody older than 65, that's a veteran. Anybody older than 70, that's a veteran. 75. 80. Anybody older than 80, that's a veteran. Anybody older than 85, that's a veteran.
That's 85.
Is anybody 85? 84?
85.
85. Wayne, are you 85? You 85? Wayne Riley. Where's the 50-50 bucket? I don't see the person with the 50-50 bucket. This is my other young girl's older sister, and she's probably, what, 19? That's what she is, but she joined at 18. And they both, you know, in school doing all that stuff. Who's your, yeah, come here with me. No pressure. I have to have somebody that don't know anybody about anything about anybody. Ticket number 362047. 362047. How much you giving her? You got what's gone on through the years, from World War I, even as far as before that, but most of us, all we've ever heard about too much is World War I. World War II, I remember the day when my daddy told me he had to leave me, and I was a little bit tired. And Mom was saying, now y'all sit right here, don't move, Daddy, be here in a minute. But when me and my brother saw my daddy come through that gate with that duffel bag on his back, we jumped out of that car so fast, Mama couldn't catch us and ran and jumped in our daddy's arms. But everybody was not that lucky. My daddy had 3 brothers and 2 brother-in-laws, and I don't know how many nephews at that time, because I was down at the low end of grandchildren. All of them came back but one. My mother had 1 brother and he stayed back in the box, and I remember that. And I remember seeing that coffin and the flag on it and the guards standing guard over it until it was buried. And then we've had all these Chester as a brother. And January the 26th of 1950 was coming home. How old was he, Chester?
22, I think.
22 years old, from Alaska. Apparently they hit a mountain or some ice-covered mountain in Alaska. The plane has never been found. Never been found. So everybody, there's a lot of memories about the war, a lot of successes, a lot of failures. But that's what war is all about. And we've got a lot of American citizens right now on foreign soil who are losing their lives right now trying to get back to the United States. And so let's remember all of our veterans, those that served and came back, those that didn't come back, and those that came back not with all the body parts that they left with. Kevin, you want to add anything to that?
I think everybody just needs to keep in mind of the 13 people we lost this past week. And also, there's still American citizens going as private citizens to rescue Afghanistan allies, interpreters. I was fortunate enough to get one of my interpreters out of the country with his family, with some help with some nonprofits I'm with. So I think everybody just, keep in mind of the Gold Star families that instantly become tragic news. So I think we're fortunate enough to live in a small community where I know I felt, surrounded by love when everything happened to me, and I hope they feel the same way dealing with what they have to deal with.
Can you hear me?
So we have a living example with us. We have Sergeant McKay. We won't let him talk. He'll keep us an hour telling us about some of it. I was reading his bio that he sent me about putting bombs under bridges and this kind of stuff in Vietnam. And I can just imagine what kind of stories he could tell us. We'll have to let him come back one day and tell us all that. And at this time, we're going to have Ronnie Labrand to sing God Bless the USA. Because we have certainly been blessed.
Hopefully, this will
This
at this time.
All right, what we're going to do is she's going to read out the branch of service. And then we're going to do a hand salute for that branch of service. As each branch of service is mentioned, we will do an additional hand salute.
Let us take this time to remember our brothers and sisters who couldn't join us tonight. Let us remember the United States Army.
Present arms. Order arms.
Let us remember the United States Marine Corps.
Present arms. Order arms.
Let us remember the United States Navy.
Present arms. Order arms.
Let us remember the United States Air Force.
Present arms. Order arms.
Let us remember the United States Coast Guard.
Present arms. Order arms.
Let us remember the men and women and prisoners of war from each branch of service that are too often forgotten. We soberly save our friends missing seats as we wait for their return. Remember, the tablecloth is white to symbolize the purity of their intentions to respond to the country's call to arms so the children can remain free. Remember, the lone candle symbolizes the light of hope which lives in our hearts to illuminate the way home, away from their captors, to the open arms of a grateful nation. Remember, the black ribbon tied to the candle reminds us of those that won't be coming home. Remember, the single rose reminds us of the friends and families of our comrades who keep the faith and await the return. Remember, a slice of lemon on the bread plate reminds us of the bitter fate that we did not bring them home. The salt symbolizes the family's tears as they await their loved ones. As they remember, the red, white, and blue ribbon is tied to the base by a yellow ribbon that was worn by thousands that await the return. The glass is inverted, symbolizing the inability to share the evening's toast. They may not be here with us tonight to toast, but they may tomorrow if we remember. As we look upon this empty table, do not recall ghosts of the past. Remember our comrades. Remember, we depended on them in battle, now they depend on us to bring them home. Remember and honor our friends, so we await the return. May everyone please rise and continue rising for a silent toast and a playing of taps. And now I propose a silent toast to our missing brothers and sisters.
Present arms.
Everyone may be seated.
Okay, at this time, we're going to retire the flags. Flag detail, post! Please be seated.
I want to thank all of you for coming. I want to thank everybody that helped. I want to thank our speakers. I want to thank the flag corps that presented the flag. That is a local union group, and they travel around doing services at funerals or any other special occasion. I want to thank Mr. Pope for coming back home. And Pam had to leave. I guess her poor gentleman got tired of waiting on her. I want to thank all my girls, especially, for all the hard work they have done helping get this thing ready. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming. Guests, people from Spartanburg and surrounding areas, and Union County. And one of the goals, Pam was talking about her daddy encouraging her to study politics and go into politics. One of the goals and objectives of our club is to encourage women to get involved in politics and local offices. And you never know what might happen when somebody does that. They might one day be president or something. But thank you all for everything that you have done. Reverend Tony Foster is going to pronounce our benediction. After the benediction, don't forget to go to the 2 silent auction tables. Don't forget to go see Mary Ann Riley and Kathy Wheeler back there also. And we are so happy to have you here. And Doug, thank you. I thank everybody but Doug, and I want to thank Doug. He was a big help in putting this program together, and he's always a big help with me. I used to depend on Tommy Sinclair a lot in the beginning, but the Lord chose to take Tommy, and Doug stepped right in, and now when I have a question, I call Doug. So, or Freddie. I see Freddie's got better grinning. So, Reverend Foster.
Let's pray together. Father, thank you so much for loving this country. Thank you so much for loving us. And thank you for sending your Son, Jesus Christ, to die for our sins, that we can be reconciled to God the Father. In Jesus' name, amen.